Hey everyone, Sean Banks here. If you're new to my channel, welcome. This channel is to provide sales best practices and tips to business owners who need help with figuring out how to move a prospect all the way to becoming a customer. So hopefully we'll find topics in this YouTube channel that we discuss that will actually help you be able to close more deals or be able to qualify and disqualify prospects and leads in your pipeline a lot faster. Now, today's topic is going to be on ghosting. And I'm pretty sure we've all come across that one customer where we thought we've had a good conversation with, and then all of a sudden that customer just goes dark for whatever reason. They don't return our calls, they don't respond to our emails, they keep telling us, hey, we don't have the time to meet. They keep saying this, and eventually we get 2 or 3 months down the road, and this customer still hasn't taken action. So today's discussion is really going to be focused around why do prospects ghost and how can we prevent prospects from ghosting? And then also as a bonus, just for watching this video, I also provided 3 questions that you could potentially ask to your prospect to fully understand or just get an inkling to know if they're eventually going to ghost you or not. So hopefully you'll find this discussion very valuable. So let's jump in. So the first question is, now, why do prospects ghost in the first place? And it could be for a number of reasons why prospects ghost, but one thing for me personally, I try to keep in mind is that our prospects are human. We never know what's going on in their professional and their business lives, and you just never know what priorities are coming up where they have to take care of. So just keep in mind that they're human, and you just never know like what they're going through in their personal life or what's going on in their business. Another reason why prospects probably ghost is they're looking forever who can get them the answer the quickest and the cheapest. Now, while that can be very alarming, while that could be also the worst case scenario, no, that just happens. Prospects, they're going to try and get the answer as fast as they can, and they're going to see who can do it the cheapest. And that's just how life goes. I think if you come across somebody that's like that, that just tells you like, hey, you know what, that's somebody you probably don't want to deal with. They don't respect the sales process. They're just looking for a quick fix, and they're not actually looking for a validated solution. So that just tells you right then and there that they're someone you probably just don't want to spend your time and energy on in the first place. And the final reason why I think prospects actually ghost too is because they're afraid to tell whoever they're talking to, the salesperson, the account rep, that, hey, you know what? We're not going to move forward with this. And I think the reason why they don't want to do that is because they don't want to upset or let down the salesperson that they're engaged with. And that sometimes happens. There are prospects who just afraid to give bad news to the salesperson for whatever reason. Maybe because they can't get the budget they need to buy the product or service. Maybe their boss or whoever who's helping them make the decisions that says, hey, we're not going to move forward. And there's just that phobia of actually coming to a call and telling that salesperson, like, hey, you know what? It's a no-go. We're not going to move forward. I'm sorry. It is what it is. And there's some sales reps who just can't take no for an answer, and they're continuously blowing up that prospect's line. But that's not us, though, and that's not what we're trying to promote. So one thing I want to do is I want to figure out how can we prevent ghosting. And I'm not saying you're going to prevent ghosting 100% of the time. That's not going to happen. But I kind of want to give you the ammunition, and I want you to think about what are some things you can do to actually make it more comfortable for your prospect to tell you like, hey, do we have a deal or we don't have a deal? I think the best case scenario for anyone is even if your prospect doesn't want to move forward, you still keep and maintain that relationship and you let your prospect know, like, hey, no matter how if this deal falls through or not, if you move forward with me, I still want to keep this relationship and I still want to make sure that you have a good experience. So some things that we can really do to actually help prevent ghosting is first and foremost, really understand the problem that your prospect has and really understand if they're committed to fixing the problem. Now, you can do this in a number of ways. One of the best ways that I like to do this is asking them like on a scale, whether it's scale of 1 to 5, 1 to 10, ask them like how important that this problem is how important is this problem for them to fix. So you really want to figure out What's their commitment to fixing this problem? And another thing you really want to focus on is understanding the consequential pain. So because of this, because they have this problem, how is it impacting them negatively? How is it impacting them on a personal and also on a business level? And the more that you understand that pain, the more that you can actually bring this person in. The more they start to like push away or tend to ghost. Because if you know that whatever problem they have is costing them money, energy, or time, the more that you know that, the more that you can guide this customer to helping them find a solution and helping them figure out whether this is a problem that needs to be fixed or not. Another thing that you can really do is have a clear next step. And I'm a huge advocate for whenever you have a customer call or a customer engagement, that there's a next step in place. But one thing I will say is let the prospect determine the next step and level of engagement. I've come across on a lot of sales calls where the sales reps or whoever the person is, they're literally dictating the whole sales process. While that can be good in some scenarios, there are some customers where we want to give them the comfortability of determining how they want to stay engaged with us throughout the sales process. So sometimes it's not always going to be a follow-up meeting. Maybe it's you as the salesperson sending them an email with some links or other resources that they can look at. Maybe it's you sending the customer some videos, maybe some win stories, but you really want to understand what the prospect wants to see in order to feel comfortable moving forward. And it kind of works better when you put the ball in their court to decide what next steps looks like. And then the next thing is follow up 48 hours in advance. So if you're going to have that next follow-up call scheduled on the calendar, take 2 days prior and just give that customer a call and be like, hey, we're scheduled for so and so date. Does this time still work for you? When you do that, it reminds the customer 2 days in advance, like, hey, we have this meeting set up, it's on their radar, and it kind of gives you that confirmation that the customer is going to be there. Um, I feel like that follow-up is very important. So that way you are still top of mind with the customer, and you know that you still have their interests and you still have their engagement. And I think the biggest reason the biggest reason or way of how we can prevent ghosting is setting the expectation up front by letting the customer know or prospect, I should say, like, hey, so and so, no matter if this deal falls through or not, I want you to feel comfortable in telling me. Like, if this is going to be a win for me, that's great. If it's going to be a loss and you're not willing to move forward, that's fine too. I just want you to feel comfortable enough to have the decency to come back and tell me. I feel like once you set that expectation, um, I feel like your prospects will feel a lot better with letting you know, like, hey, this is not going to be a deal that I'm going to follow through with. And it doesn't matter if it's a phone call, if it's an email. I think the win here is when your prospect comes back to the table with you and give you honest, brutal truth, and let you know where you stand within this deal. Now, as far as a bonus, I said I want to give you 3 questions to ask your prospect to help you understand if this is someone who's going to ghosting you or not, or help you prevent ghosting in the future. So here are these 3 questions that I'm going to give you. I'm going to say them out loud, but I'm also going to provide these questions in the show notes below. And I expect you to use these questions as well in your discovery calls or whenever you're talking with your prospect to get a better feeling on if they're going to ghost. So the first question is, hey, because you have this problem, how is this impacting you directly? That's the first question. And just keep in mind, the problem they have can impact them on a business level, or it could also impact them on a personal level. And I feel like it's always best to figure out what the consequence is on both sides. The second question I'm going to give you is, besides me, who else are you speaking to about this problem or engaged with? If they're talking to another vendor or another competitor, you kind of want to have that in the forefront of your mind because as you're progressing through the sales process with this actual customer, you want to come prepared. You want to speak to how you are different from the competitor or the vendors that they're talking to already. Um, and some customers or prospects, they won't tell you that up front. Sometimes you may have to dig a little bit and pry it out of them, but that's also a fair question to ask any prospect because you kind of want to understand who's in the game with you. And the third and final question is that you want to ask is, hey, given what we discussed today, I see what next steps could be for us moving forward. However, I would like for you to tell me how you would like to move forward. And that's where you're putting the ball in their court and you're just not forcing next steps on them. You're letting the prospect tell you what they want to see as far as next steps and how they want to stay engaged with you as a salesperson throughout the rest of this process. Um, so with that being said, those are the three questions as a bonus I wanted to give you today. If you have a client that's ghosting, hopefully these questions will help you. If you have questions or concerns or comments, or maybe you're in a part of the deal cycle where the client has ghosted and you just don't know what to do, then feel free to put those in the comments. You can reach out to me via email and tell me your situation. I can see if I can provide any tips or any helpful advice to help you bring this client back into the fold. But I understand and I know how it feels to be ghosted. It is not a good feeling. But at the end of the day, as a salesperson, I just want you to know that it's not always completely on you. Sometimes it's on the prospect. Sometimes they don't feel comfortable. And even as a salesperson, maybe sometimes it is the blame is on us because we're being forceful with our next steps. Maybe we're not setting the expectation and making the customer feel comfortable. But either way, we got to make sure that we come to the table, we set the right expectations, and we ask the right questions. So hopefully you found this video very helpful. If you enjoyed today's video, if you found this content something that you can leverage in your sales cycle today, I encourage you, like this video, subscribe to this channel, definitely share this with other people who could be having similar issues. But I look forward to seeing you in the next video topic discussion. With that being said, we'll talk soon.